Hello everyone, today I'm going to be doing a brief presentation on disability and the disability rights movement in India. So I want to start by talking about the social aspect of this movement and what people are trying to overcome in India. So first off, it's important to note that in India there is a very strong belief that disability is the fault of the disabled. This is a karmic belief coming from the karma system from the Hindu faith. Hindu mythology does not portray those with disabilities in a positive light. In fact, there are very few circumstances where this takes place at all in the Hindu mythology. Um, just to give you an idea of how negative the social situation is towards those with disabilities in India, half of participants in a recent survey said that disability is a curse from God. Now, this was mostly in rural areas, but still, half of all participants in the survey were saying that this is a curse. This is not something that someone could overcome. It's not a situation that could be treated. Um, this leads to some substantial social marginalization for those with disabilities across India. Now, there are some other social factors that play into the social view of disability. For example, gender is a very large part of the disability discussion. In mentioning Hindu mythology before, there are no instances of positive women examples with disabilities in Hindu mythology. There are a few examples of men that had strong women beside them who helped bring them back to health or something like that, but women are marginalized that have disability in that avenue. So there are other different social factors that play into this debate, that including caste system, the poverty of the person, or the religion that the person holds. Okay, so I want to move on to education because my time is half up already. In the education system, there's very low social acceptance of children with disabilities being placed into regular educational settings or put in an inclusion program. This holds especially true for students with developmental delay or mental illness. Over half of people don't want these children even in a special school setting. They want them not to be included in the educational setting whatsoever. Illiteracy rates are incredibly high for people with disabilities and students with disabilities. It's 52% for students with disabilities versus 35% for students that don't have a disability. So you can see the inherent disadvantage there. Additionally, school attendance rates for students with disabilities are lagging far behind. In states that have good school attendance overall, student with disability attendance ranges from 27% to 33%. Students with disabilities tend to be educated in special schools in India. One source stated that intellectual and learning disabilities don't really exist in the general school curriculum at all. Now, I'm briefly going to mention some legal things that play into the educational discussion in particular. Article 41 of India's constitution says that the state shall, within the limits of its economic capacity, that's the key, make effective provision for those who have old age, who are sick, and who are disabled. So, it seems that the country is very progressive. Disability rights are included in the Constitution. However, that's not always been the case in practice. There's been some significant issues mobilizing the different legal things that have come into play. Now, there is hope. Before I go on to the hope, there were three acts in particular I wanted to mention: the Rehabilitation Council of India, the Persons with Disabilities Act, and the National Trust Act of 1999. All three of these were supposed to help students with disabilities specifically. There is some movement towards inclusion in the educational setting. There is a plan in place in India right now called Vision 2020, which is going to essentially help students enter into not mainstream, but inclusion programs in the school settings so that they can continue to develop their educational system as a whole. But I think the most important thing that I took away from all of this, in India, there's a huge paradigm shift that's happening from just providing charity to people with disabilities to helping create programs to help develop people with disabilities in any way they can. That's my presentation. Hope it was informative. A little long, but oh well. So